Okay, we might as well start now. Welcome to the 36th episode of the ESOU podcast. I'm Nefas, and we have here with us today Olibeau and Brah We Got This. Or Adam, sorry. I don't know which you would prefer for me to call you by, Brah or Adam. Just let me know.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter.
Okay. Thanks so much for giving us your time. I know you're really busy and all. So yeah, I figured we just have you on because I want to talk just a little bit about because we never got the chance. I feel like to talk and sit down about your journey in ESO, how you started out in content creation, and I want to also focus on what your new direction is because I know, judging from the comments I've seen on your videos, recent videos, most people seem confused. So yeah, I mean, so how do you start out, I guess, is the first question. What got you into ESO, or how do you decide to start saying, oh, I want to make videos?
Yeah, so thanks for having me on. So starting out, I actually had the idea freshman year of college, so it had been about 12 years ago. Started just kind of doing videos on my own. And then senior year of college, started the channel with my friend Joe, who I've mentioned a few times in our videos. And we started the channel out doing Destiny content actually, and doing Let's Plays. And he actually made a guide on how to get a Wormsinger rune, and it kind of blew up. It has, I think, almost 300,000 views now, but it just kind of let our channel take off in a way towards the Destiny track. But we kind of just wanted to keep making Let's Plays, so we kept making some guides for various games and Destiny, but we kind of burned out a little bit as the years went on. But then in 2016, I made a beginner guide for ESO, and it saw some success, and just through life circumstances just kind of didn't continue that. But then in 2019, end of 2019, early 2020, I just decided to kind of start making more guides for ESO. I liked ESO as a game I was putting a lot of time into, just because I liked MMOs, grew up playing RuneScape basically my whole life. And I found that, that guide I made a few years prior had some success, and I knew some knowledge about the game. And so I just thought I would, just start there. And yeah, it kind of just took off as I kept producing content consistently. I was finding that I was able to really help newer players out kind of understand the beginning parts of the game, because that's one of the reasons why I originally quit ESO, was because I was so confused. And once I kind of got through the beginning stages, watching some guides, it kind of I was able to relay the information that kind of helped me a little bit. And that's kind of how I started with consistent content creation.
Okay. It's really interesting. I didn't know you started out with another person and for Destiny as well. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Sure.
Had you grown up playing video games? Was that part of your childhood and stuff, or is it something you got into later?
Oh yeah. I started I was trying to think. The game that I played the most when I was a kid consistently was Pokemon. I started playing that in kindergarten, first grade. My friend had every gaming system when I was a kid. So my parents didn't really let me have tons of gaming systems. I had the PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, 3, all the way up. So I've been a PlayStation player for my whole life, but I never really was allowed to have multiple gaming consoles besides that Game Boy. So my friend had a bunch of games or gaming systems. He had the Dreamcast. I remember actually playing the Halo 1 beta on Dreamcast, and that was I don't even know how long ago. That was 20 years ago or something. But I would go over to his house, play games. So it's something that's been a part of my life for a long time, but it was definitely very restricted as I grew up. Until college, when I kind of, could kind of do my own thing. So, yeah.
Hmm.
Like,
So,
sorry, go on.
no, you go. You go.
No, you go on.
Well, I was thinking how so. And I know, I mean, if anyone's not watched this, the video that you put out, it must have been a couple of weeks ago now. You said that you're starting to move away from the gaming space. I mean, for anyone that's not seen that video, can you talk us through a little bit what it is that's kind of made you want to move away?
Yeah, so I think this has been something that's been going on for quite a few amount of months before I released this video, but I just never really delved into my personal life much on my channel, and mainly just because it might not be wise sometimes, and
Yeah.
so there's a lot of things that were going on in my life, not necessarily negative things, but positive things and negative things. Some of them I won't really speak on necessarily, but I've just over the last year, I've definitely lost a little bit of desire, especially in the ESO side of things, just because I was getting burnt out a little bit, but I still enjoyed making videos. I still liked streaming for people. I like talking to them and socializing, but I would say that it became a point where I just felt like I'd be coming home from my day job, because I switched from doing full-time content creation to, working a day job again and just kind of doing it on the side. And it just got to the point where I just felt like I wasn't really getting satisfaction or enjoyment out of making the content in gaming. It's not that I don't like gaming, but there are definitely some things that I have not had good boundaries in with gaming. I sometimes can just invest myself way too much, and it affects other parts of my life. And I started realizing these things, and and that's what I kind of addressed in my videos. I told people, I said, hey, like, this might not be your story, you might not have issues with this, but for me, it definitely, I noticed there's just things that would come up, or decisions I would make that just that would be kind of correlated to the amount of gaming consumption I would have. And I just had some things in life that I really wanted to work towards. And I felt like being in the gaming space, it was very stressful. It's very, it feels like it's always a constant loop of, like, I feel like I'm behind. Like, I feel like I'm not putting out enough content. I feel like I'm not keeping up with the times, because, I'm working a different job, and I signed up for that when I went back to this job. But I just, the content that I create now, I feel a lot more satisfaction from it. And I feel like it's like something that I really love doing. And I just wanted to be, I just felt like it was time to really be genuine about kind of where I was at in my journey of life with my followers, which is understandably why I understand why some of them are confused in some ways. But at some point I had to shift that. And so there was going to be a little bit of growing pains with that. I tried to handle that as best as I could. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. It's not that I'm never going to play video games again. It's just something I realized that I really feel kind of led to do something else. And I just feel like there are some effects that it was putting on me mentally. And I just felt like it was healthy for me to kind of step away a little bit. So,
yeah, I think that's really brave, because I think all of us have felt at some point with other that gaming sort of envelops your whole life, and especially if you're a content creator as well, it's such a difficult path to choose, because like you say, you always feel like you're behind. You're looking at other people and saying, oh, they've got X more viewers than me, or X more subscribers. What am I doing wrong? And it's a very difficult space to be in. So I think it's brave of you to try and escape that cycle. And hopefully it's going to be, well, I know it will be a healthy decision. Yeah, I mean, I hope it will be successful as well.
thank you. Appreciate that.
I think also ESO, you know, definitely burst people out.
Yeah.
Shit. But I was actually gonna ask some ESO stuff, but you guys can talk more about this. But I'm a huge fan of your ESO stuff, especially where we align on like rewards. And it seems like, I don't know if you've been keeping up with ESO this year, but it seems like they are like finally sort of heeding people's like desire for in-game rewards. So I don't know if you saw that they added a mount to zone completion for the new chapter.
Finally.
Yeah, finally. But it's just one small step. So hopefully they keep working on it. But yeah, huge fan of the ESO stuff.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So it's basically a combination of like personal life, your own kind of issues with content creation, at least in the gaming space, right? Because you're still making videos. And these videos, I think, I haven't watched the recent one. What is it? Why you use pen and paper instead of your phone?
Yep.
Yeah, so these are more like related to real life. So does it feel more impactful for you to make videos about perhaps guides for life rather than guides for a video game?
Yeah, it really does. And these are things that I've really just been learning over the last couple years. And I feel like my job that I do as a day job, so I'm an assistant project manager for like a construction company.
Okay.
And so, you know, I've realized over the last like 8 months, like I feel like I'm growing in my leadership ability because I have to lead young guys. And a lot of these guys, they, you know, I'm not saying this for judgment or anything like that, but they're, you know, they don't necessarily know what they want to do with life. You know, they're kind of just working a job to work a job. They definitely have different things going on that, I don't know how to really put it, but it's like they, you know, they're in their early 20s, you know, so it's like everyone, I feel like in their early 20s, they just don't really know, you know, they need guidance. I feel like sometimes they just need a little bit of encouragement, push to kind of find what they're passionate in. And I've just kind of found that like there's things in my life that have worked, and I really want to just kind of share that with people and really help people that maybe are struggling or that just need some encouragement. Just simple things, simple tasks that I find that just kind of help me through life, you know? And so yeah, I definitely feel like it brings me a little bit more fulfillment. Again, it's not that like I've gotten so many comments on, you know, my guides being so helpful in ESO, and I'm not saying that those can't bring some sort of real life fulfillment.
Right.
But just for me personally, I just feel like I can have an effect a little bit differently. And I still want to, like, I'm actually planning to stream hopefully like in like a week or two. Like I still want to stream some, and I was polling my community and they were saying it'd be cool if I just like played some games and streamed, and I'd like to do that because I think part of streaming is I really like just talking to people.
Right.
And so I still want to try to do things like that. I just know that I didn't want my focal area of content to be just centered around gaming, because I just feel like I should be making other content. But yeah, I think that's kind of what it feels like, though. It does definitely feel a little bit more fulfillment when I do these things. So
yeah, it seems like you're going to be using gaming more of as a means rather than it being your final product, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Just out of curiosity, in that video, when you use pen and paper, is it because of memory? Because I, if that is one of the reasons, I feel like I remember more if I write down stuff rather than typing out stuff.
Yeah, so that is actually one of the reasons, and I'm actually going to be pairing. I'm building a new website. It's a blog that's going to be pairing this with my content. So I'm hoping to launch that next week. But that is one of the reasons. I also just love, like, I'm finding just like I love the physical act of like writing things down with really nice pens, and
Right.
you see like progress, I guess, if it makes sense. And another big thing is, and that's one of my first things in the video, is it just allows me to not be distracted on my phone. Like if you go to your phone and you start typing in something, it's like you're bound to get distracted by something.
Right.
And I just think it's just nice to have. So yeah.
Yeah. I think another thing with writing down with pen and paper, there's kind of a permanence to it, and it kind of makes you think before you write stuff down. Whereas if you're writing notes or whatever on the PC, you can just delete it, rearrange it, and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know whether that's a plus or a minus. I guess it kind of depends on what you want to be writing down.
Right.
But I mean, did you, when you were making ESO builds, would you write it down with pen and paper?
Definitely not.
That's a good question. Yeah.
Yeah, because of the time aspect, right? So that's the thing, is like, there's definitely benefits of typing things in. I was more focusing on putting it in your phone versus just computer based, because I love like project management software. I think that stuff's really cool and everything like that. But I just like when I write my notes down or my calendar, I like putting it on paper. But yeah, ESO builds were, all my scripts are typed out. Yeah, if I had to write those, I would have like half the videos that I have. So
yeah, in the early days, I definitely used to write a lot of ESO notes. I've got notebooks full of like,
nice.
I don't know, team rosters and tactics and all sorts. They are an absolute mess.
Do you remember them?
Well, I mean, I probably remember. I think I remember them because they were notes about things I was doing, and I don't know whether it was actually writing the thing down that made me remember it. Like team sheets from 4 or 5 years ago, I think I do remember.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I. Actually, I could probably name a team from like 4 or 5 years ago better than I could name a team from 2 years ago. Maybe there is something in
Good. Oh yeah, in the video Olibeau mentioned earlier, where you're leaving the gaming space. A lot amongst your motivations for leaving the gaming space, which one of the biggest points was your, I guess, to viewers. I don't know if it's like newfound or if it's just something you never shared. Your passion for, I think it's I'm not exactly sure actually. Following Christianity, right? Like God. Is that like?
Yeah.
Has that always been kind of there, or?
Yeah, no. So I've been a Christian. I've grew up going to church basically my whole life, but that's part of the personal journey that I haven't yet shared with my community, which one day I hope to do. But like, with my faith, I would say the last 3 years to 4 years of my life, it's really taken a huge shift. I don't think I took it seriously most of my life, and I've just had a lot of things happen that some of my own decisions that were bad decisions had consequences of certain decisions, and it's really just been a radical shift in my life that has brought a lot of growth and just a lot of great things through some of the decisions that I've made. But there is a lot of personal stuff there which is why it's been tough, because I kind of explained this to a few people in my life, not online, but I kind of explained that, like, it's not that I feel like my viewers don't know me, but it's almost like I still feel like I'm not being my whole self to them. Like I'm not able to express kind of some of the things that have changed me over the last couple years. And I just feel like I want to be able to express that. And it's not that I couldn't do that by making video game content. It's just the way that how everything played out. I just felt like that was just something I needed to kind of, again, move on from. And so, yeah, it's been something that's been a part of my life for a long time, but I've gotten a lot more serious about it over the last couple years. And so.
Yeah, I think, I mean, it's a difficult thing to sort of like announce on the internet, because I don't know, I feel like the internet's not always the safest place for people to be open about their religion. You know, there can be a lot of kickback from people talking about their faith. Is that something that you worry about, like, you know, moving into a new space?
I mean,
It's something that oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, well, I was gonna say some of the comments I've seen are just uncalled for on your video.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Well, I mean, when you bring up topics of, you know, politics, spirituality, or religion, and stuff like that, real life stuff, it tends to cause that kind of response on the internet, at least.
Yeah,
I'm
see,
not-
that's the. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I'm unsure if those people would even say it to your face. That's the thing with the internet, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
they probably wouldn't, but they will do it over the internet. Because, like, you know, I used to be extremely religious, and I'm not anymore. But I can still I can still respect, like, the direction you're taking your channel in life, and even if, like, let's say people don't understand it completely, it doesn't invalidate, like, why you're doing it, right?
I appreciate that.
But yeah.
And it's kind of funny, guys. Like I have probably read only 3 comments from the videos I've released because I just I don't think I'm mentally ready to do that. And I actually have people at my church that have been very supportive, and they like actually read the comments for me, and they're like, "Hey, there's definitely like the first 3 hours of comments were rough, but they were like, there's some encouragement in some of the comments too." And I've actually received a few messages from people that have been really encouraged, and people that have had some similar stories, and so it's actually not been terrible. But I think a month or 2 down the road, I'll go back and I'll start looking at some of these. But I try to keep good boundaries with that mentally, because I know that, like, if I dive into that, I'll just, like, it'll kind of destroy some mental health and stuff. But I what was the question that you guys asked me? A question. I'm sorry.
Do you feel like it's a risk talking about your spirituality online?
Oh, okay, yeah. So that's definitely something that crosses my mind. You know, being honest, like it's a challenge I have to deal with. But, you know, I think part of it is just keeping good boundaries with that. Like I said, like, you know, this is the stuff I believe, and I'm confident in it, and, you know, it's something that I know not everyone is going to like or agree with or understand, but I want to make sure too that when I, you know, talk about these things, or when I express these things, like, you know, I'm not trying to I'm trying to think of the best word for it. Like, I'm not trying to be overbearing or anything, but, you know, if that specific person doesn't want to hear that, then they always can hit the unsubscribe button, you know. And it's just something that you know, if you feel passionate about something, then I'm not gonna back down about what I, you know, feel passionate about, because, you know, I can't be afraid of, you know, Jimmy Two Fingers, you know, typing on the keyboard like something really mean to me. You know what I mean? So, you know what I mean? So it's just like, I like you said, Nefas, it's like, I'd say 90% of those people probably wouldn't say that to my face, especially if they saw me in person, because I'm a pretty big person. Played college football. So it's like, you know, yeah, I don't look very big on the camera, but I also don't expect to, like, I don't want to have altercations with people. You know what I mean? It's like, if that's how they feel about it, that's how they feel about it. And yeah, you know, I try to just brush off some of those things. So
yeah. Oh, I just meant, like, I just feel like most people on the internet just wouldn't even have, like, regardless of your size, wouldn't have the, I don't know how to say it, courage? Not even courage. Like, you just wouldn't do it. Like, the shit you say on the internet, just you wouldn't say it to, you know, someone that's, you know, standing right across from you. Very few would.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Usually the most toxic stuff, it reflects more on the person saying it than the person it's directed at. So it's it wouldn't be anything personal, no matter what subject you're talking about.
Right.
But yeah, I can see why people were confused, because I guess, like, because, you know, everyone has their own story. Like you say, you don't share everything that goes in your life. You don't vlog every day. You don't share personal details. So I think a lot of people were just confused by, oh, this guy, Brah, he made a vampire build, and then suddenly, hey, I'm leaving, bye. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I'm out of here.
I know. Yeah, I totally get it. And
like there was no transition. It was like, yeah, bye.
Yeah. It was tough. Like, and I mean, yeah, I hope when I stream next, like people will come in and talk, and I can kind of explain some things. But it's like, it's just tough because, like, again, it's like without being able to tell people what I'm going through, like this has been something I've been thinking about for months, but it's like I still kind of needed to make content because it was like I wanted to still be consistent, still wanted to, I took a big, income hit from this. I mean, I definitely make significantly less on YouTube now, and I was willing to accept that. I knew that was going to happen, but it's something that was like, okay, I had to pick a point where I was like, well, I guess now's the time, so it's like, I know I get why people were confused, but it was just, I tried to do the best I could to transition it as best I could, but it was just a difficult thing. So,
Well, I think sometimes just sort of ripping off I was about to say plaster, but ripping off the Band-Aid, I suppose, is the phrase in the United States, and just sort of doing it like all in one go, like rebranding. I think that's going to clear your mind completely and help you transition. I think I don't think it's a bad idea to do it suddenly, even if it does mean you take a bit of a hit initially, like you say. I think it'll work.
One thing that really interested me in that video as well was your focus on, and you mentioned it earlier as well, like with the construction workers, the young men. I saw some comments like asking, "What about women?" Is that like your focus on with the men? Is that like partly because you're a man, and you know what I mean? Like,
no, I mean I just don't feel like so the two videos I made, I think could be used for men and women, the ones I made so far. But it's like I have some video topics that I've gotten like a content bank that I specifically think are geared towards men. And I think that's because like, I'm a man and I just don't know if it's wise for me to give leadership advice or advice in certain contexts to women when I'm not a woman. And I think that men and women have different ways of doing things. And so I just think it's like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like I should leave that to someone who's a woman who maybe has a parallel story or whatever it may be. But some of the topics I have, I definitely just think are, geared more towards trying to help younger guys, like, hey, like, what are you passionate about, kind of thing. And I mean, it's not that women couldn't take something away from that. It's just that I just feel like that's kind of where my passion is, like I'd love to, just cultivate relationships with guys and, build like a cool community where like, like this is just kind of in my personal life too, just like kind of like meet up with them and like, hang out with them and just try to be like a mentor, if that makes sense. So yeah, I hope that makes sense. But
makes sense.
I think so. And I mean, like if there's like a young woman looking for a sort of strong female role model, they're not going to go to a dude called Adam, surely. So I think it's okay to sort of make that distinction and gear your content towards what you have experience with. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Another thing I was interested in was you mentioned kind of like helping parents kind of sift through content on the internet. I think you mentioned something about like how certain content or games or I guess like media is just not appropriate in your opinion for the younger demographic. Is that something you're still gonna pursue or interested in doing, and how would that like look like? Is it kind of like top 5 games your kid shouldn't play or something like that, or is it like something else?
Yeah, no, so that's something that I still plan to do for sure. I am currently working on a project for my website for that, but also that content will definitely. I think that content will be a little later in the process once I kind of start developing just kind of the content I have right now. But yeah, a lot of that is geared towards. It's part of my own story again. Some of it's personal, but some of it is stuff I can share. But like, I think that like I think that my parents didn't really understand this gaming thing. I mean, they just didn't understand kind of how to navigate that
Right.
because very new thing, for them. And I think that there's just a lot of like, for instance, like mobile games, right? Like I think there's just a lot of things in mobile games that
Oh yeah.
these kids are getting involved in that are creating and impressing on them not healthy mindsets. Because one of the things that I want to like, one of the comparisons I want to draw with that is, when you're young, what you're watching, what you're doing, what you're consuming, that is some of the biggest aspects of what impresses upon your life. And so like one of the things I remember is, I saw Lord of the Rings when I was in like first grade or second grade. And I remember that like kind of changed the trajectory of my life. Like I loved medieval stuff, right? I loved just like, that those kind of aspects. And I think it's because at such a young age, I had these things that I was consuming. And I was like, man, this is really cool. That's why I loved RuneScape so much, is because it felt like I was kind of in that world. And I know it's completely different than Lord of the Rings, but it's still a general, high fantasy kind of thing. But the point of helping parents is like, there's so many like gambling things, right? On mobile games. There's a lot of things that I just think that, when you're a kid, you don't know what you're getting into, and you could totally derail your life at an early age and not even realize it based off of what you're getting into. Because a lot of these companies use so much predatory means to do this stuff, and there was some things I definitely didn't like about how ESO handles some of those things.
Crowd creeps.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like, again, I understand that like when you're an adult, like you have to make your own decisions, and you have to, you have to accept the consequences of the decisions yourself. But it's like when you're a kid, sometimes you don't really know what you're doing. And it's like, I just feel like I'd like to help parents out. Like, hey, like maybe you should just like monitor this a little bit, because maybe your kid should not be spending $10,000 on this cash shop, or on loot crates, or, just certain things, because I just feel like it can create some things in their life, like patterns that might follow them their whole life. And I just think that, like, I don't know. I just feel like anyone could say that that's probably not healthy, for a kid. And so there's a little bit of personal stuff with that for me, that I think I was exposed to some things that I just wish I wasn't exposed to when I was younger, that I wish that I had a little bit more, like, I don't know what the word is for it, but maybe just like, guidance or something. And it affected me later in my life, and so I want to try to maybe help someone else, maybe not have to go down the same path that I went down or something. So that's kind of where I'm going with that content, if that makes sense. So
it makes sense, because I think a lot of people were thinking, well, what does he mean by, what the younger people shouldn't consume? Is it violent video games? Because, I think when you brought up your, religion, people were like, oh yeah, this guy's gonna be like saying, video games, are like satanic or whatever, So I was also curious, like, is it the, like, what kind of content you don't think is appropriate? And I definitely agree with you on the whole mobile game aspect, the whole gamble, like these companies trying to like trigger it's basically what casinos do, trigger like that gambling tendency, trying to trigger that feeling of missing out, all that stuff. Through visuals, through audio, through lights, and all that stuff. Yeah. So yeah, I agree with you on that one for sure. Like, I think that's something that should be kept away from not even just kids, people in general. Like, but again, like if that's a whole different topic. I think we can kind of delve into with gambling via games and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, God, I was gonna ask something. I totally forgot what I was gonna ask. Oh God, this always happens every time.
You're good.
What I wanted to ask was, do you think that you have like an addictive personality? Do you think that this is something that has been one of the challenges in your life, and that this is why you played so many video games, and that's something that you want to break away from? Is that? Do you think that's?
No,
Well, I
it's
mean,
a good,
a lot of people suffer from addictive personalities.
I do.
Yeah, I mean, I think all of us do to some extent. But is that sort of part of the reason for your, shifting your focus?
Yeah, that's a great question. I definitely think I have that. Yeah. I'm someone who, when I get involved in something, I kind of sell like out for it. Like I do the best I can. I work really hard, and I try to. I don't know. I try to do the best I can with it. But I definitely do have that. And I mean, that's one of the things, in video games, there are so many things with video games that are so addictive for me. And it's just like, again, someone else might not have that problem. They might just be able to log on to something and, play for like an hour or something, but for me, I could spend hours and hours and hours on a game. And it's just like, I just think that for where I'm at right now, I just can't be doing that. It's just something that I have to have boundaries on, and that might sound kind of lame or something, but it's just like I have to be aware of that. I think I brought this up in my video, but I said, it's kind of like if someone has, an addiction to, maybe alcohol or something, like they have to have a boundary with that. They might not be able to go to the bar or the brewery and, have some drinks. They might have to take a step away for a little bit, and I think, and I, when I compare that to video games, it might sound insane, but it's like, I just really think that it's so deceptive because you don't realize maybe sometimes like how much time you're spending. And for me, that can just be a problem for me. And yeah, it's just something I've realized and something I feel like I've got to kind of just be out of a little bit and just, have boundaries with it. And, if I have a channel that's completely around that, it's like, that's gonna be really hard to do. You know what I mean? So it's like, I really think that like, I'm just playing with fire. If I'm just like, well, I'm going to try to have boundaries to this, but my whole channel is on video games. So it's like, it's just something you have to be kind of wise with, I think. So, yeah.
Yeah. I think this is something that, like young people especially, it does affect them a lot. And you do see people sort of mid-teenagers to early 20s. They do sort of get into these cycles, and it's difficult for them to break it. I mean, I'm pretty sure, like the first couple of years I was playing ESO, one of my friends looked at how long I'd been playing the game versus how many hours I'd put into it, and it was something like 2/3 of the time that I was awake, I was logged into ESO.
Yeah, that's a gamer right there.
Yeah, well, it's kind of mad, and yeah, I think it's important for people to try and you want to redirect that energy, especially as you get older and you don't have the kind of time and energy to put into things like this. It takes its toll on your mind and body. So yeah, I think all power to you for trying to help, especially younger people. Try and maybe break that cycle a little bit and try and find something that can give them meaning and use that energy for something productive.
I remember my question now.
Nice.
Yeah. So, okay, so when we're talking about younger demographics, we're also got to talk about the parents. So it's interesting because you brought up your childhood, but to me, that may not, like, our childhoods may not be exactly similar to childhoods today. So by that I mean, like, I feel like with how technologically interconnected we are nowadays with the internet, social media, phones, whatever, devices, would you not think that parents these days have more knowledge because they are, I guess, us, right? If that makes sense, like the previous generation.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. I do think that they have knowledge at their hands and fingertips to use. But I think that, and again, I'm not a parent yet or anything, obviously. But
Okay.
I see like, just from observing in public and just, kind of life experiences, it seems to me though that like they have knowledge with what's in the world, but there's still just so much more knowledge and information that they don't know as well. And I don't know if it's ever possible to express that to them and to show them. But it's like, for instance, like I feel like I've just heard about these times where kids will just somehow spend thousands of dollars on their parents' device on a game, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, how as a parent do you not, and then maybe the parent is like, upset about that, and I'm like, how do you not know that this is connected to your credit card, right? But it's like they might not, but it's like it's also probably because their mind is being filled with so much other stuff, because I can't imagine, and I can't relate to it yet, but I can't imagine how hard it is to raise a kid in today's society where everything is so technologically advanced. Like they have so much information at their fingertips that it's like, I think it's virtually impossible to mitigate everything, right? To mitigate, all negative effects. But it's like, I definitely think that parents can use some help with, with someone like myself who maybe has had these experiences, positive or negative, and can maybe relay some things like, hey, like you might want to like just check this, like make sure that this isn't connected, or because like they might not realize, right, like something is connected to an app, or whatever it may be. And so I'm hoping that I'll at least help in that way. I hope that makes sense. I hope that answers your question. But
yeah, I mean, it's a difficult topic because you wonder whether the story isn't going to make the news if it's parent stops their child from spending $10,000 on their credit card. So we only hear sort of one side of it, and it's difficult to say how much of a problem that really is. And I think it's always going to be a little bit of a problem, like bad parenting. But yeah, definitely having the resources out there and being able to warn people, I think it's definitely got to be a useful thing to do.
Yeah, no, I agree. And like I said, I don't expect to completely mitigate all negative effects, right, of something, right? But it's like, I just think that there is some information that could be helpful for some parents. And just, like maybe something they didn't know or they didn't understand about a situation. Because I know for me, my parents, they, like I said, they just I don't think they understood certain things about technology, because I was in that age of like, it was like that transition. I remember the first, like the first iPod, the one that spins, but that was like 2007, but then it's like 3 years later, you've got like Twitter or something, it's like, it was such a crazy transition in that early 2000s, kind of 2010 era with technology. Like, I was in high school, didn't even have FaceTime in high school. At the end of college or something, it was there was FaceTime. It's just crazy how much it's advanced. But now kids, they're just growing up in that, like you said, Nefas, they're just so interconnected. Like even schools use devices all the time, so it is a little bit different, like, so.
Right. And what I was saying as well, like the parents would be more familiar because they were in that transitional period. So, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder whether like our generation and the generation after us are going to be more aware of that and handle it better.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
I think it comes down to, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, like you guys, I've heard these weird stories about how kids get their hands on parents' phones. And I've seen parents also hand their phones to the kids to distract them. It's like the modern
Right.
toy, right? And then like like somehow end up ordering, what was it, $2,000 worth of stuff on through DoorDash. I think it was one story, and I was like, bro, yeah, that's interesting.
Oh yeah, but seeing as you use like using pen and paper, do you still do you like burn CDs instead of making a Spotify playlist?
That's funny. I don't have a disk drive, so I actually
No,
don't know if I should.
me neither. Yeah, I've not had one
Yeah.
for like 5 years. It sucks.
But that's the thing is I've actually really enjoyed like some, I don't know what you would call it, but like more classic or traditional things. Like I like just kind of living a more simple life now, and I've been a lot more unplugged. Like I don't have social media anymore.
Yeah, I noticed you delete your Twitter and all that.
Yeah, I just I deleted. Yeah, like I deleted Facebook a long time or a while ago, Instagram a while ago, and Twitter most recently, and I don't know, man. It's just really freeing. Just there's so much noise on there, and yeah, just living like an unplugged life like that has been really helpful. So it helps me enjoy, just things that I wouldn't normally enjoy, I feel like, before. So I don't know. I just find a lot of enjoyment out of that. So
yeah, I think it's a thing, like especially as people mature, they kind of want to cut back from all that kind of thing. And people really like to analog media is really coming into fashion, like people in their 30s collecting vinyls and stuff like that. A lot of people wearing flares actually nowadays. We're back in the 90s, so maybe in another 15 years we'll start using social media again. We'll start using Facebook.
funny.
Should we get some questions from
What? Oh,
chat?
all right. You only have an hour, right? Total, Adam.
Yeah, just probably an hour if that's okay with you guys.
Okay, well, I think we start at 11, so it's 11:48 right now. Yeah, I think I guess we can take questions from chat if anyone wants to ask questions to Adam or any of us. I was gonna say something earlier too, and now I forgot it.
You should write it down on a
Oh yeah, true. Yeah, I should write it down.
Write it down, man. Write it down, dude. Funny.
Do you have like a favorite pen that you use? Because I've used the same pen since I was about 14, like the same brand.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'm actually. I am now a pen connoisseur. So
Yeah.
I have a pen called Tool. It's TUL.
Right.
It writes really well, really nicely. And I ordered a pen from Cross. I don't know if you've ever heard of Cross pens.
Yeah.
But they are back ordered like 3 months. So I ordered it in like January and I still haven't gotten it. So I don't know if I'll ever get that pen, but like, yeah, my boss at work actually, he's a PE professional engineer, and he's into like pens, like crazy different pens, like the ones that like levitate on the little thing, like like magnetized stuff. And he shows me pens, and he gave me a pen made of concrete, which is really cool. So it's just like I kind of just like try to find cool pens now. So
a pen made of concrete?
Yeah, it's literally made of concrete. Yeah,
that's like crazy.
I can show you guys a picture afterwards. It's crazy.
That's crazy. So, concrete. How heavy is it? It must be heavy.
It's got some weight, but it's like you can see it. I'll try to send you guys a picture of it.
Man, I thought the gun pen was crazy. You know, Olibeau, you know that shit?
I think I've seen
the pens that are guns.
They're made out of like recycled.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Actually, I always wanted to ask, how many hats do you have? Because I feel like it's always a different hat in your thumbnails. No, I'm serious. Like, you know what I mean? I've always wanted to ask, like, how many hats do you have? Because you have
I've got a good bit now.
Okay. Do you like collect those too?
Yeah, I collect hats. So I typically try not to sweat a lot of them because then I get ruined. So I try my best to preserve them. But yeah, I've probably got like 15 hats, maybe.
15 hats.
Yeah.
I started getting into like thing. I was going to say, do you do the thing where you like steam the visor and like perfectly shape it, stuff like that.
I do not. I probably should though. I need to probably watch a video on that. So that would be cool. But yeah, I do have a lot. So it's also because I'm bald, so that also helps as well. But
yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard wearing hats makes you bald though. Like what happened first?
Isn't that a myth? I always
I
like
think that's a myth.
my grandparents told me that or something a long time
same.
ago.
I don't
Also,
even
I
know.
was like 5.
Ponytails make you bald as well, apparently.
What?
If they're too tight or something. I can kind of understand that. Like, you might get a receding hairline if you've got a tight ponytail.
I definitely think I got it from hereditary, but I also did wear a lot of hats growing up, and I was under a lot of stress, I feel like, for a couple years. So I think all of that kind of contributed. I remember when I moved during COVID, I had like a hairline, and then 6 months later, my hairline was like 3 inches back. I'm like, bro, what happened? Like, I don't understand what happened.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, I have a question from chat from Becca. I have a question. Are you prepared for the pushback, and this is for Adam, from parents who take your content as telling them how to parent when you yourself are not one?
Yes, I know that might come up, and that's why I'm taking the time to wait to create this content, because I want to make sure that I create it with as much wisdom as possible. I do not want to come across as like I know everything about parenting, because I don't, but I do have experiences with my own life that if I would have had, not necessarily from my parents, but if I would have had some sort of guidance, like you had said, Nefas, before, I think that it would have helped me tremendously. So yeah, I'm prepared for that, but I also am going to try to do my best to create that content with as much wisdom and just being understanding that, like, hey, I do not know all of this, and I will always admit that I don't know, all about anything. You know what I mean? Like I'm not all knowledgeable. You know what I mean? So yeah, but I appreciate the question.
So, and I think it kind of makes sense. Like, I don't think you have to be a parent to give some parenting advice, because all of us have been a child, and sometimes you want to say, well, what do I wish my parents would have known when they were raising me? And I think that's a valid place to come from when giving advice.
I can see giving advice from the perspective of growing up. Yeah, I guess. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you can't give advice on being a parent, but you can give advice on, hey, maybe you shouldn't beat the shit out of me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this is how my childhood affected me. Or, it's still an experience. You're still part of that sort of parenthood journey, I guess. You're just on the different side of it.
Yeah. I mean, going off of that, like, your intent with, I guess, the upcoming content, like the far future content, is that to, I guess, because technically you're still an influencer, video games are not no video games, is that to influence the parents or the younger demographic?
I think the parental side is hopefully to, again, just maybe share knowledge or information about certain technologies or things in gaming or technology that maybe those parents don't know about. So maybe just giving them information like, hey, wow, I didn't realize that this game had this, or, this piece of media had this, so it's like part of it's that, but then also my other content is more for that younger demographic of maybe that are looking for encouragement, looking for some leadership, looking for some guidance in life, maybe, helping them again find, just something that they might be passionate about, or, give them motivation. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do any of those motivations have, like, any spiritual or religious, I guess, behind it? Influences behind it?
Yeah, there's definitely some influences from my religion. The whole pen and paper video, I don't necessarily think that was influenced from my religion of Christianity necessarily. So there's going to be videos where they're just life things, if that makes sense, like just things I do in life that I enjoy or that help me. But then there are going to be some influences in that, and or there will be, you know, influences from that foundation, which is, you know, I said that in my video, you know, kind of what my channel is going to be about, just so people understand that, you know, and again, I understand that some people might not agree with that, but you know, I wanted to say that up front so I could be who I am, you know, and I am not trying to be someone that I'm not. So, you know, if that speaks to someone specifically, maybe they're not religious, maybe they, you know, hear something from that and it leads them to that, or, you know, maybe it's something they move on from and they don't want to hear. But I just want people to know that, yeah, that is going to be the basis of a lot of my advice, and experiences. So yeah.
I think that's very useful for people to have. If you take advice from anyone, you want to know what their kind of background is and what angle they're coming from. You know, like, I'm not going to take PvP advice from Nefas because he doesn't PvP. But like, you know, if I wanted some, I don't know, raid advice or something, I might.
True.
You know, stuff like that. You want to know the context from the advice you're getting.
Yeah.
I never made PvP videos, really.
No, I will not read your PvP build. So.
Yeah. Another question: If you can go back 5 years, what advice would you give yourself? And it's from Lucifer Razazel.
Man, that's a hard question. Let me think. I think for just in general, first thing that comes to mind is I would tell myself to shut up and think about what I'm going to say or do before I do it. So that's what I would tell myself, because I've made so many bad decisions off of just things I've said and not thought about, or things I've done and I've not thought about the consequences of, you know, me making a certain decision. So I think that would be what I would tell myself. Just don't talk, you know, just think about this for a second. So
damn, what do you do in the last 5 years?
That might be on some later stuff, but no, it's just there's a lot. I don't mean to make it sound like I'm just
I get
a lazy person or anything, but it's just I definitely have a lot of regrets of some decisions I've made in my personal life. And you know, I could be at a different phase of my life right now, maybe, you know, job wise, maybe career wise, if I would have just thought about some decisions, you know, and thought about consequences of certain things. So, you know, I think there's always, again, you have the hindsight bias, but it's like, I think there's always things you could look back and be like, man, I wish I would have told myself this, you know? So.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I think a lot of people can sympathize with that, feel that as well.
Okay. While we wait for, I guess, the last question, because it's almost time. Well, I'm actually curious. What's your next video, if you want to share that? Or like, or do you plan it out still, or do you just kind of go like, oh, here's my idea. I'm gonna just do the video now.
No, so I have like probably 20 ideas written down. Yeah, dude, like I've just got a ton of things I want to talk about. Like, and
okay.
So, but the next one is actually on social media. It's kind of explaining why I don't have social media, and kind of just encouraging people to kind of take a little bit of a break from it, and from it just from my experiences of the last 8 months. Like, this is kind of some of the benefits I feel like I've received from doing this. So yeah, that's actually my next video. It's just about social media, and that will hopefully be, I'm hoping to release that this next week. And then when I release my blog at the same time. So then those last 2 videos and that video will be on the blog. And then, from going forward, every video I release will have the blog post and the video. So that's kind of the goal. So I'm trying to get that ironed out and everything. But yeah, I've got a lot of ideas. So
yeah. It's at least
Looking
20
forward to
videos
it.
right there. But actually, on the social media point, like, are you gonna, I guess, go about for that video your personal experience with it, or are you also gonna combine that with like maybe statistics or research articles into the effects of social media on people?
So I thought about using some research statistics with it, but I feel like the video would be so long because I went on Google Scholar and I was looking at just different papers people written, and it's like it's a
there's a
lot. I'm
lot.
like, oh my
Yeah,
gosh!
yeah.
Like, so I feel like I could create a whole different video on that. So this is mainly just personal experiences and effects that I've seen in my life that have been positive. From getting off of social media. And again, I kind of in the video, I'm not encouraging people to just completely delete it if they don't want to. It's more just like, hey, like, why don't you try taking like a month to just like be off of it and just kind of see. And I'm actually creating a survey at the end of the video, and it'll be on my blog post of like some questions of like, hey, how do you feel after 30 days of, not being on there, and like, did you notice anything? And you could say like, no, it doesn't matter. Like, I feel like it was terrible, So it's like, I kind of just want to see what people think, because I really think like it kind of helps, and it's not necessarily something where you have to completely get rid of it. Like I said, I think it's just all about balancing and just not being consumed by something. So, yeah.
Just, this might be a controversial opinion for me, but I don't think humans, at least right now, I don't think we evolved for social media, if that makes sense. Like, I think it's very overwhelming. I don't think
You don't think it synchronizes with our brain function?
I think, yeah, I just don't, I just think some aspects of it, I mean, I guess for the time being, we're not meant to deal with it. You know what I mean? I don't know how to describe this.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's just so much information. I just don't think our brains are, designed for that. You know what I mean? There's a lot.
Yeah.
Like look at your screen time. Like I'm encouraging people to look at their screen time, see how much time they're on their phones. Like it's crazy, man.
I don't even know how to track that. How do you track that?
On like iPhone, you look at settings.
Settings.
And
where's that under? Screen. Oh, I see it. Screen time.
It tells you like how much time you're spending on everything. It's crazy, man.
See, I've got 5 hours on socials.
Oh, I just turned it on, so it says 0 minutes.
Dude, man, you're doing great.
Okay, all right.
2 hours on Discord, hour on Facebook, hour on TikTok, half an hour on Instagram,
an hour on TikTok.
well, there was this there's a nice Canadian guy. He was interesting. Anyway,
I'll DM you guys. I guess after what's a good amount of time? A week? A month?
Yeah, just take a week. Just take a week and just
let's see.
Okay, should
you can do a review video of Nefas's screen time next week.
Okay.
Reaction to Nefas's screen time.
Yeah.
Yeah. True. But yeah.
So, if we want to watch that video when it comes out next week, where would we find it? Where can we find your content?
Yeah, just on my main channel. So it's just Adam Lutz now. If you type Brah We Got This, it's probably still going to pop up. But
it does, yeah.
And then the blog, I haven't released that yet, but once I do, I'll put that in the description and I'll let you guys know too. And you guys can, can do that. Because if I give someone the URL now, I'm pretty sure they can find it. And I'm like, let's not do that yet because it's not ready yet. So, like, what is this? So, but yeah.
Oh, before we end, I got one quick question if you have time. Actually, it is actually about your channel. So, what was the decision making process behind making Brah We Got This into this new channel with your name on it instead of making a separate channel? Like, did Joe have any input on that, or just was that?
Yeah, no, great question. Joe, I talked to Joe before this, and he gave me some opinions and ideas, but he's kind of a I can kind of do what I want with it kind of thing, because I kind of took the channel over once he kind of wanted to get out of YouTube. But he actually has a channel that he does like Pokemon stuff on. But we also have a channel called Brah We Play This that we're gonna hopefully just for fun make some videos for gaming one day. So we have that one that's up. But he gave me some opinions on it, and he I got a lot of different opinions actually on like, hey, should I make a new one, or should I stay in this one? And there was a lot of contemplation, but I stayed in this one because, I thought, someone told me, they were like, hey, when some, big, athlete or something changes kind of like their direction of what they're doing, they don't necessarily make a new account, right? They take the following that they have, and they, express like, hey, I want to do this now. And people that want to leave, people that want to stay. And I just thought, like, spent a lot of time and a lot of hard work building up this community. And I'm hoping that, just staying in this situation, in this content, like the actual same channel would just, hopefully just be able to reach more people in the long run, even if I do lose people, obviously. I just thought that it was like the best decision, just kind of going forward. But yeah,
makes sense. I think the only thing I would have been worried about would have been the YouTube algorithm. I know it heavily punishes sudden change in the type of content. So
yeah. No, I know. And yeah, that's something I realized that I knew was going to probably happen, but I just, I don't know. I think I was like, I'll just take a shot at it and just see how it goes, So,
fair enough. Yeah, thanks so much for taking the time to talk with us. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, no, thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. And if you guys ever want to talk again, just hit me up. I'm sorry if I'm super late to responding to certain things.
You're good. I mean,
That's cool.
life, and also Discord is also social media, so it's like YouTube is also social media. So it's like, I understand after talking to you, like, the delays or whatever, but I don't think it was that late either, so it's whatever.
Okay, I appreciate it. But yeah, let me know, guys, and just always down to talk and hang out. So
hell yeah. All
Thanks,
right.
Adam.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it, guys.
All right, see you in a bit.
All right, see you later.
Bye.
But